The Irish Rally Podcast is brought to you in association with Tech and Tools, PFT Travel, SVS Productions and Rally Connection.
Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of the Irish Rally Podcast. As you can see, we're joined here by Tommy Hayes and we'll get back to him in a wee second, but we're going to be discussing all things Moonraker and the Ravens Rock Rally. So as I said, we're joined by Tommy Hayes, so we'll just get stuck straight into the Moonraker actually, Tommy, I would say. Ravens Rock is fresh in your mind because you've literally just landed in the door from it, but if we can cast your memory back to a week ago and to the Forestry, you obviously had a great few stages and stuff, but in your own words, how did you feel about the event?
We were delighted with the pace. Not so happy with the end result, but it was. We could only be massively encouraged by it because we were like, when you look at who was there, you know, we had Owen Murphy was back with the Citroen. Ryan Caldwell was fresh from doing Donegal down the Skoda. Like, I mean, it was such a variety of drivers and cars there, and you know, we kind of knew that we were happy with our prep going into it, but we knew we'd be up against it. And you guys like Pat O'Connell coming back to the woods as well. But we were very happy with our pace, and like even on the fourth stage, we actually got a puncture halfway through the stage. We nipped a rock and a soft tire halfway through it, and we were only 1.9 at fastest with soft tire for half the stage. So I'd like to think we were on a bit of a good pace. So unfortunately, the final stage dealt us a different hand because we were on a bit of a mission at that point because we were chasing down some. It's kind of a bit, as much as it's disappointing, you kind of have to take the positives from it. Yeah. Because if you don't, you might never get back in the car again.
Well, that's the main thing.
With the form of it, you know, yeah, that's it. Like.
But obviously, you know, as you say, it was definitely a different kind of than what you had in your imagination before you took off for the weekend. But going back to the positive points that you were saying, you know, what did you guys take from the weekend? Yourself and Stephen obviously put in a mega effort.
Yeah, we've been working very hard on the notes that have been supplied. Obviously, Killian Duffy's and Patterson's supply the organizer notes. In fairness, we've been using Killian's ones and working perfectly, but we did a bit of work on them just to kind of, you know, just to become more just to find any little bit of a gain we could get with it. But I think we definitely seen a benefit last weekend, and the car was brilliant. And I think, you know, it goes to show, like, I think someone was talking about the Fiesta R5, the first version, the earlier one. It might have been Gary Jennings or someone lately, and they were saying that it was a car that was kind of ahead of its time, you know, that it's but in the Forestry it still remains a very, very competitive car, you know, to run at the front. Mark Donnelly is proving that as well, and Jordan Hone is too. But I think we had a really good result in Killarney, and in Tipperary we'd had a puncture and a spin, and we know the time we lost with that, and we would have been in the race of it. So I think it kind of proved that those results and our times before weren't flash in the pan. We were able to go anywhere in the country and still race the guys. But unfortunately, a burst radiator kind of put a halt to that. So it's a bit disappointing. But.
And I think as well as that too, Tommy, like whenever it's an issue with the car, you know, it's much easier to take the positives because you're not kind of kicking yourself as such. It's very much like, that's rally and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and I mean, I suppose the positive we can take was we were on a push. There's no point in sugarcoating it. It was kind of one of those moments where we were starting the stage, and I was starting the stage, and Gordon Noble sitting in with Niall McCullough. I mean, I remember I was there like, I'm racing Gordon Noble here today. This is
Mad stuff.
this
The stuff of
is
dreams, Tommy.
yeah, this is crazy. Like, I was watching Gordy when he was, navigating with Rory Gallagher on television, and Mark Fisher and all the lads back, when we were teenagers watching rallying on TV, and here we are going in, and we have in our eyes that we want to rip time out of these points,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like pinch yourself kind of moment. But no, it was we could take a lot of encouragement from it now. So hopefully it puts us a little bit on the back foot now in the championship. But look, we know we've the pace.
Yeah.
And I think Stephen, he's been a couple of years since he was in the woods, and like we're very early into, it's only our third rally, and we did a rally sprint together there before Christmas, and it's gelled a lot. It's gelled very quickly, and which is good, and gone well, and
that's the main thing.
It's
a lot of the time, that's the kind of the atmosphere and the crack in the car is kind of the main one. And I suppose, it has to be lighthearted to a certain extent, but it also has to be it has to gel whenever you're focused and sort of trying to stay motivated and determined for the actual, competition of why you're there.
That's it. Like some people might look in and might say, "Oh, why aren't you laughing or raping or messing?" I'm like, well, we are, but it's just kind of like we have a job to do here.
Yeah,
like,
you can't be messing all the time.
Yeah, kind of. But it's it's been it's been really good this year, and like hopefully like there's some really good rallies ahead this year with the Jim Walsh Cork Forest Rally coming up, and then obviously there's the two northern rounds, which are always rallies that I look forward to, because some great stages up there that they're almost like the Forestry equivalent to going over Knockalla or up Malls Gap, things like Big Dog and Carrickholt and things like that, and Lochbraden. They're just they're amazing stages. Like last weekend, some of the stages below in Cork were just phenomenal.
Yeah, one of the stages, we actually mentioned it earlier, where we spoke about it earlier. I think it was stage 6 and 8, and I'm probably going to get this wrong because I told you earlier on my memory's shocking, but Knocknabro, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
But I think Mick Cody was quoted as saying it was probably one of the best gravel stages he's ever been on. Like, would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's kind of like we joked about it after. So it was like playing Colin McRae Rally. It was it's everything it's like everything you imagine forest rallying or being on gravel in a 4-wheel drive car should be. Just corner to corner. And when the notes are the flow and the rhythm on the notes and those stages was just amazing. And like we went through it there. We were second quickest on the first run. I think we were just under 2 seconds off the fastest over 15k. And I know that we had a quick look at the camera on the second run, and at the halfway point we were a fair bit up on our previous time, which makes it a bit even more sickening. Because we had very lofty plans to jump from 5th to 3rd on the last stage, and I think it was going to happen only for our
the radiator just got in the way.
But if buts and maybes are great things,
I know. And rallying just is like, it's such a disheartening thing at times like that. But in saying that must give the two of you great encouragement to head on into the next one now.
Oh, big time, yeah. Like, I mean, we're massively encouraged with the pace and just how things have gelled. We just need the dice just to roll our way right the next day. Make no bones about it. Like, the guys we're racing are seriously quick out there at the moment. Like, Mark Donnelly has come down. He won 5 Mile Town earlier in the year, and he came down to Killarney. He won that, and he's won Tipperary. He's been really consistent and really quick. Jordan Hone is always a tough man to beat. He ran Paddy O'Brien reasonably close there last year, and there's so many guys that could just be out there. There'd be nothing covering you, in the gaps on some of the stages. And Ryan Caldwell as well. I mean, he's been amazing. Like,
I mean, that was
for a man of his, for a young lad of his experience, like,
yeah, like I mean, that was incredible last weekend. Like,
yeah, just like, you know, but he seemed, it was a very controlled drive from what we saw. But hats off to him, you know, because he drove a great rally, like, you know, and you know, you have to say that it's nice to see. Okay, we would have liked to have maybe been in that position, but it's cool. It's cool to see, you know, something like a Skoda, you know, winning a rally in Ireland as well. You know, it's just a bit of variety, you know, to kind of, you know, there's so many different, you know, R5s that are available, and it's nice to see different cars winning rallies, and it just kind of makes it kind of cool, you know, maybe to the broader audience, you know.
That's it. Like, and as you say, you know, whether it's the driver, co-driver, the, you know, the car itself, like, it's just cool to see the whole thing being kind of shook up a wee bit, and you know, new names up on the leaderboards and stuff, like, and sort of, you know, one of the things you mentioned earlier on was the fact that, like, all the times are so close. This is anybody's essentially at the moment, like, and it's brilliant for the championship, but it's brilliant for you as competitors as well, because you can't relax. Like, you've got to keep pushing yourself.
That's it. Like, but I suppose someone said it to me there today. They said, like, you know, the faster that it's going, the easier it nearly is sometimes with, like, co-driving, and it's probably there's some level of truth in that, because I suppose you only get one shot at calling the note, you know, and it's but I mean, at the same time, it's all about how you gel with the driver, and you know, and but even everyone is raising their game, and you know, it's only pushing you to do your job as best you can to your own ability. And I think you know, there's great satisfaction and reward in that, you know, when you go in half asleep on Monday to work, you know, when you know that you're
you know why.
You know why. Absolutely.
Exactly.
After it, you know.
Exactly. And in general, you know, we were chatting about Knock the Bro there a wee second ago and stuff. Like, where would you rank the Moonraker in terms of events and within the championship? Personally, where is it for you?
I have to be careful what I say. I've always loved going up doing the Lakelands rally in Fermanagh. Just the really well run events, great stage. It's like Killarney this year was actually a great rally, the Killarney Forest rally. So I don't know. It's kind of like, which leg do you want to cut off, your left or your right? Because they're all been so good.
Brilliant.
Yeah. No, I think maybe the Moonraker and the Cork Forest would probably have the pick of the forest stages. Like, in general, the Cork Forests tend to be the better forests in down south, but that's not to, you know, any slight on Tipperary. Ran a great event with some very challenging stages, and you know, there was some good rhythm to a lot of it there. Killarney stages were amazing. I don't know, you can pick good stages and bad stages on any rally, you know. It's just, I don't know, you've really put me in the spot there.
Well, from your point of view, what makes a great gravel stage? What, you know, has to be in it, or what do you enjoy the most, I suppose?
Fast. The high speed stuff is really good. And the nice, real good flowing stuff, you know, where you're up into, you know, fourth, fifth gear. But then there's some nice bits there, like that Knocknabro stage had a bit of everything in it, like including a water splash, which kind of, you know, wasn't particularly fond of, but you know, it had everything. But there was a lot of stuff that we're using a note system that's basically using one as the fastest notes. There was lots of 4s and 5s and things, but just, you're going from, the car can really be thrown around. You can carry momentum in it. Now, I'm not a driver, but I know that if you're in with a good driver and they know how to really drive in a stage like that and commit, there's no better feeling. Like, it's just such a good stage, the likes of something like Knocknabro. But then you look at something like Ballintempo up in the Lakelands, and it's, you know, another example of a great stage like that, you know. But then again, you go down to the Cork Forestry next month, and you know, there's another 2 or 3. Like, there are, I think it's just a championship that kind of has flown under the radar a little bit because, you know, tarmac is the most high profile thing that we have here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, I think Forestry just needs a little bit more loving, I'd say, more than that, you know.
Yeah. A wee bit more encouragement probably. And we were talking about this before we came on air, but you know, would you see the TV coverage on the limits and TG Cahir, like would you see that as a really positive indicator for maybe a renewed interest and sort of love for the Forestry coming back?
Hopefully. I don't know what the package is. I don't know if it was a one-off or if it's something that's going to be rolling forward for the rest of the rounds. I've not been made aware as to what's going on with it. All I can see it as is it's encouraging. I've seen some of the stuff that the guys have been rolling out. They're using a new drone, and I must say the footage with the new drone is it's the best footage I've seen with a drone here in Ireland now, you know, yet. You know, so it's, you know, a move in the right direction. But I suppose, like, some people will tell you that rallying doesn't need to be on television, but you know, lots of people are going to have the same opinion. For me, personally speaking, I think rallying has to be on television to justify if you're going looking for a sponsor. You know, if you don't have a big company backing you, or if you need to, you know, bring some kind of budget to contribute to a team, you need to be able to say, oh well, your brand, you're going to see it on TG Cahir at, you know, be it, you know, 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, or, you know, 10:30 on Wednesday night. I think it's just a case where we have a massive opportunity, because we have the sport in terms of its competitiveness has never been healthier in terms of how competitive it is at the sharp end on tarmac and in Forestry. But we need to, you know, capitalize on that, because, you know, it's a great story to tell. Like, you were part of the RPM days, and that was the art of it. It was telling the story. And, you know, it captured the imagination. And you got across that element of how competitive something was, and that real sense of competition. And you need to do that to a broader audience, not just to the people who are into rallying. You need the accidental viewer. Like, I'll watch downhill skiing simply because it might be accidentally on television. I think, Jesus, this is class, or downhill mountain
and it's
bike.
interesting, like, it's brilliant to watch.
You'll watch something if you have that kind of a thing for, that's a bit mad, that's a bit out there. And I think, you know, we need to look how we are promoting outside of rallying. We need to kind of look outside the sport rather than within the sport a little, you know.
Well, you were saying that, like, you don't come from a rallying family.
No.
And you found rallying through TV.
Yeah. Well, I suppose my uncle is a mechanic, and I suppose he was a mechanic for a Fiat dealer in Tipperary. And that Fiat dealer did the Circuit of Ireland back in 1982, and there was a photo up on the wall of them, you know, servicing the car or something like that.
Brilliant.
But, like, I think, you know, that's what captured the imagination, like watching RPM or staying up, being allowed to stay up late to watch the Circuit of Ireland in the early 90s.
Night.
Yeah, you know, kind of going into school with red eyes on you, you know, the next morning, you know. But it's, you know, like I was talking about, I think my mother heard something one day, and she said, you know, she missed hearing the intro.
It
became one of those things.
As soon as you said that, Tommy, I could hear it in my head immediately.
Yeah, it's that thing of kind of like, I remember the intro would be on, and you'd nearly trip over the cat on the way in to run in to press record to tape it. Because even though you'd be watching it, you tape it anyway.
Just so you could rewatch it and rewatch it.
Just so you could watch it again, like, you know. And maybe.
I think that's. I do think you're talking sense there. Like, you do reach people, and look, at the end of the day, we adore the sport, and we just want it to keep growing and have as many people introduced to it, and kind of coming out to either maybe stand in the ditches and watch, or get involved and, like, be part of the motor club, or actually compete, like, whatever it is. So the more the merrier type thing. And as you say, like, I suppose to showcase the sport is kind of the main thing, you know. And, like, when you think about the sport now in general, we've just been talking about the forestry. But then you've gone from, literally within the space of a week, you've jumped from gravel into tarmac again. And again, this is quite normal within Irish rallying, within rallying in general. But how do you get your head around that, particularly as a navigator? You know, and the notes changing and stuff like that, and the recce being a completely different kettle of fish and stuff. Like, how did you get your head into Ravens Rock this weekend? And, you know, it was gravel. It was changed from gravel to tarmac, and it was a new driver. Tell us about this weekend.
There was less trees anyway. A
lot of talk about trees within rallying this last weekend.
Yeah, less trees. But no, it was, I suppose, how do I get my head into it? I think the biggest difference is the speed. The speeds are similar in some ways, but it's the amount of grip that I think anyone will tell you that just, you know, the R5s and the medium speed corners are just, the speed they can carry is just amazing. Like, I'd be the first to admit, I've very little done tarmac in an R5, and like, it's an eye opener. It really is, as to how suspension, tires, and brakes on these cars work. They're just a phenomenal bit of kit. Like, but in terms of prep for it, just, you know, it was no different to any other tarmac rally I'd done before. Really, it was just the fact that it was the same office, a very similar office to what I sat in last weekend, just with slightly bigger wheels and slightly stiffer springs, you know. But in terms of Keith has been doing the Forest Championship as well, but he had to miss the last round due to being away on holiday. And I actually thought that he'd be doing it, and he'd asked me about doing this round. I was like, this is going to be mad. I'm going to be rallying against you one week and sitting in with you the following week. But then he kindly explained the situation to me. But
and I love that, Tommy. Like, I absolutely love that about Irish rallying. Your competitors one week and the next week your teammates. Like, it's excellent. You know,
the crack was good. Like, you know, and in fairness, it would be Keith's local rally, and to a certain extent, it's now kind of, I suppose, my local rally. I'm living in Carrick-on-Shore, so Waterford would be less than half an hour away. So it was a reasonably local rally to us. But I suppose you're just kind of, one thing that you notice with tarmac is just there's a bit more intensity about it. Just because I think it's probably the fact that you're, you know, at the 30 seconds as well. But, you know, it's just switching back into that gear. Like, okay, we've only 30 seconds to wait now between the two. You know, it's from the week before, it's like you have a minute, and sure, you know, you could have a full-blown conversation for half.
The minute can last forever almost, can't it?
Yeah, whereas 30 seconds don't be long, you know.
No.
Between, you know, calling out, reminding what that first note's going to be and what have you. But the prep for it was, I don't know, I'm probably not answering this really well.
No, I think you're answering it quite well. I think that you know, the fact that you're you don't really know how to put it into words, in my opinion, or the way I would interpret that, is just the fact that, like, it's just so natural to you. It doesn't matter what the road surface is, as long as you're sitting in a rally car and you've got your pace notes in front of you, you're happy out.
I think that's it, kind of. It's just been like, I mean, like, you talk about going from forestry to tarmac. Like, this year I kind of scaled back to just, you know, concentrating primarily on forestry with Stephen. And, you know, there might be the odd tarmac rally, or might get called to go maybe do something like gravel notes or something. And because just there's a lot of things going on this year with other things outside of rallying. And what I kind of noticed was that, geez, there was a couple of years where, like, I think there was one year I did the tarmac championship and the forestry championship, and I think I was gone for over half the weekends of the year.
Yeah, like that.
So it doesn't, you know, you don't even think about it. It's just you're going from rally to rally. Your approach is different, but you can't nearly surmise it into words. So probably made a balls that bit of the intro.
Sure, it's all important, isn't it?
And
come here, going back to Ravens Rock today, like, any standout moments for you? Or, I mean, you know, you had this, as you said earlier, was your first event out with Keith.
Yeah.
And your first event in the R5 on tarmac, and you had a positive 16th overall. You know,
Yeah, I
it
think
was obviously quite a good drive.
I think 15th or 16th. Yeah, we were happy enough. It was very hard for us to kind of find a yardstick as to, you know, who to measure ourselves off of, because you know, Keith hadn't been out in a while, and you look at the guys that are there doing the national championship. They're if they're not doing only the national championship, they might be doing both. They could be doing the tarmac and the national, and like, you know, so it was kind of hard to find your yardstick for the day. But no, we were very happy with how things progressed. We did the last stage of the loop was I think it was like a 15k stage, amazing pit road out of a place called Mulnavat there in South Kilkenny. Fantastic pit road, but we had an instant there on the last stage where we were very lucky to still have four wheels on the car. It was very early in the stage. I think we had it down as two left and two left again, and then there was a two left into a four right. Two right and two right again, and two right into four right. I do know my lefts from my right.
As long as you know them in the car, Tommy.
That's it. Yeah, you know, directionally dyslexic here. But I think we might have cut in a bit early on one of the twos, and we found something substantial in the side, and all I can remember was that it was a bit wall of death for a couple of seconds, two wheel job, but we got out of it. But like we didn't know, we a couple of dings in the rim. It still took 4 seconds out of our time, but we definitely could have taken a bit more, but we couldn't. It took us a while to kind of, you know, commit to it again, because we didn't know whether we'd
done any damage.
Had something a bit more going on with it. But,
and you don't want to take any chances that late stage either.
No. Keith's going for the Southeast Stages Championship, and I was literally just substituting in for his regular navigator this weekend. So Keith got what he wanted there, you know, for the points to go to that, and delighted that he got the result he wanted there for the day, you know.
And so, Tommy, what's up next for you? You were saying that you're doing the major commitment you have this year is the Forestry Championship. Well, we'd be likely to see you out in tarmac again after this wee spin out in the R5 today.
You might. I'll see. I might. It depends. Look, I'll go if it all depends on if I get asked to do something, and if it fits with other things, because I've most recently been seen up in a shed sanding down doors for a house that we're supposed to be trying to move into. So
life gets in the way sometimes.
There's a bit of that going on, but we'll see. Like the forestry is taking priority, and I'm doing a little bit of work helping with the race series in Mondello Park as well at the moment. So there's a bit of it's great, because it's almost the stuff that you learned in rallying you can apply to another motorsport discipline, but in a more, I don't know, logistical, or I don't know what you want to put, but it, you know, it's good kind of.
Yeah. It's just nice to see another side of it too, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. Look, if it has wheels and it'll move, you'll see me not far away from it. Like, you know,
I think we're all the same. And come here, you might come back to the podcast too.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah, that's it. I think we're the most awkward bunch of lads you could have found ever to make their bunch of podcasts. We've really taken the punk or indie music approach to it. If you don't like it, you can go F off, and we won't make it. You know, we made 2 series of a podcast that nobody asked for. That's the way we looked at it, and we arrived with the 2 series of these podcasts, and people were like, "What's this?" Well, here it is. We gave you it. We didn't look for it. We made it.
So that what all podcasts are, really.
Yeah. I suppose, look, like I said, life has gotten in the way, and I think we really enjoyed it, because I suppose it kept us sane during the COVID time. It was something that kind of Morris and I and William Nolan and Morris Malone, we talked about it as far back as 6 years ago about doing it, because I'd seen a magazine in the UK, Motorsport, It's kind of the one that it usually costs like €10. You kind of, it's ridiculously dear magazine.
Yeah.
But they were doing podcasts, and they did one with David Richards, and they were doing ones with guys like John Cleland, the British touring car driver, and it was kind of, I was saying, no one's done anything really in depth about rallying. We kind of said, we're tragically nerdy enough to maybe do this,
like, make it work.
Yeah, like, so that's kind of what happened, and it grew legs, and we don't really know how. Literally pairs of people listen to it.
I'm sure you're being modest there. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's just, I think that's what happens. Like, these wee sort of passion projects turn into, because people thoroughly enjoy doing them and sort of, know what they're talking about to a certain extent. And then, as I say, like, the joy of just having these conversations, like, I think that's, no matter what the sport is or what the topic is, like, that's just what has people listening. Like, I think any of us that either listen to podcasts or like jump on podcasts, like, the bottom line is we'd listen to and talk about rallying all day long if we could get away with it. And that's exactly what this is.
That's it. Like, and I think what it is that because nowadays everything, I think there's kind of a push nearly to condense everything down to people, to shorter attention spans, to nearly friendly sound bites for everything. Things lack the depth and kind of to maybe go into a bit of detail and discuss these things, and discuss damper settings that Alistair McRae might have ran on an Accent WRC and some obscure test in mid Wales in 2001. Because people need to hear these things. You know?
Well, some people really would enjoy those facts, you see, and that's it.
Yeah, I know, but it's good fun, and to be honest, like, there's a list here on the wall of ideas that we still have that we reckon we could do, but like, we could never have dreamed of who we ended up with on the podcast. Like, we had Robert Reed, we had Ari Vatten, and I remember when we got Niall McShea was the one that actually it blew up with Niall McShea. Like, it was just bubbling under, and then the Niall McShea episode came, and it was just like suddenly kind of like the figures just were like, what the hell happened here? Like, this was just meant to be like a casual, and it's just but like it's nice to, I guess, with what yourselves and Kevin are doing there, that it's to see the love that people have for the sport and are willing to push back and show that love for sport and share it broadly. And I think what I used to love about RPM was that you could tell that it was made from a place of love for the sport.
Exactly.
And that's what draws people in, and it even drew people in who weren't necessarily rally people. And I think a little bit of that magic needs to be sparkled on the sport again, because we have a great opportunity. It's very competitive out there at the moment. And, we need to, strike while the iron's hot, I think, with it,
Absolutely. Like, and I mean, the bottom line is, like, we all love it. That's whether we're listening to these podcasts, watching these TV shows, like, having conversations with friends over coffee. Like, we all adore the sport, and that's it at the end of the day. Like, so as you say, sparkle a wee bit more of that magic over the top of it, and fingers crossed that it just keeps growing from here on out. Like, it'll be so good to see the sport grow.
But that's it, because I mean, like, it can't all fall on the same people as well. Like, we're very lucky. Like, someone said to me down at the Tip Forest Rally, like, and it really hit me. It really struck a chord. They said, I said, we'd had a mixed day, and someone said to me, "Oh, we're delighted." They said, they're really happy to see you in an R5, and they said, it's great seeing that. We'd love to be where you are, and it hits you, and you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And like you can get so caught up in the, like, damn it, we were 2 seconds slower. Why is it? And you're like, hang on a second, this is the thing that we dreamed of when we were kids. Now, you are taking it seriously, but you do need to take a quick step back every now and say, this is awesome.
Yeah, we're so lucky
class
to be able to do what we're actually doing here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I think that's it at the end of the day. Like, even, you know, in my own experience, like whether it was driving or, you know, work with RPM or any of the, you know, the live stuff that I'm doing, or like just, you know, these podcasts, any and all of it, like it's just at the end of the day, it's a privilege, you know, to be driving or to be talking to people that are at the top of the game or that are committed to doing these things, you know, week in and week out, whether it's forestry, you know, whether it's tarmac, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just, this is a great sport, and to be involved in it in any way genuinely is a great thing. Like,
And that's it. Like, to me, I suppose I just love to see. I just love to see more new people get involved, because like
yeah.
it's breaking that barrier for like I say, I'm not from a rallying family, and like that I wouldn't have had a way into the sport only for by pure luck and circumstance. I went to Rally Sweden with a bunch of people off rally forums, and suddenly after that I got an opportunity to sit in a rally car, and you know, that man's mistake has, you know, proven to be a mistake for loads of other people. They've let me into their rally car, and but I suppose the point I'm getting at is that, you know, we need to try. I look, I know I'm probably going on like broken record, but I think we just need to find a way of trying to appeal to a wider audience for the sport, to
Absolutely.
try and get new people in, because it's not fair, because the same people are being landed with the jobs all the time.
Yes,
you know, you go to
exactly.
the end of every stage, and it's the same poor lads that are doing it in one county to the next county, week after week.
Yeah, to the length and breadth of the country, like.
Yeah, and you know, they have lives too, and they live and breathe the sport. But you know, some people can't go on forever. You need to see where the next generation, new blood's going to be, and when, you know, I don't know. Maybe
Just kind of needs to spread the love a wee bit more, isn't it? Really, like.
Yeah. Do we sell it at third level? I don't know. What do we do?
Yeah,
You know?
like, do you know, to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have, like, I obviously would understand what you're saying for sure, but I probably wouldn't feel as like sort of excited by what you're saying if it wasn't for the fact that a couple of weeks ago in Donegal, a great friend, Michael Coyle, who lives in Glen, invited myself and my family over for the day. John Lyons is a good friend of my dad's, and John goes over every year because like where Michael's house is in the village is just perfect. He's got this amazing, you know, garden out the side, but he's got a great view at the front as well, you know, where you see kind of just the run of the village, like you can see the whole thing. But what appealed to, say, you know, my younger sister came with me. Well, my mum and dad were there too, but my younger sister came as well, and she has a 2-year-old daughter, my niece Sive, and she kind of is car mad. You know, she gets very excited by cars, but there's no way that my sister would have taken a 2-year-old like through fields and stuff, like, you know, the regular way. And when Michael invited us over, it was just, you know, the perfect place to take Sive. And I have to tell you, Tommy, like, she was, you know, the first couple of cars that came through, the safety cars or whatever, she was excited by the cars with the lights on or whatever. And then the few 00 cars came through, and you know the way there's a couple of minutes in between those cars. She was sitting up on my shoulder, and she has this wild habit of saying more, you know, whether it's food or rally cars, it doesn't matter. And she just, you know, she was sat up on my shoulder, and the last of the 00 cars came through, and she just kept saying more. And the next thing, the first rally car came through. I can't even remember now who it was. It probably was Callum. And she just, like, I could feel her. She was properly sitting on my shoulders at that stage, and I could feel her sort of excitement, you know.
Yeah.
And my sister was saying that she full on followed. Jeepers. Are you all right there?
Yeah, I think that's just that's the scaffolding coming down.
Good on you.
Says the EJ decks there. It's all right. Everyone tell Joe McGonigal they're safe. It's all right. They still work.
Well, come here. She just, like, I could feel the excitement, you know, coming through her, and literally, like, I'm not joking. My sister was saying she could obviously see her, but she followed the cars like any of us do, like the adults that have been watching it for years. And she just was so excited. And at one stage then, maybe about 10 cars had passed, and she just kept saying, happy, happy, happy. And I was like, look, this is rallying. Like, to me now,
Yeah.
this is what rallying is. Like, this is a 2-year-old that is stone mad about rally cars, and it's the first time she properly saw rally cars in action. Like, and we need to be getting that generation stuck in, and excited about it. And, whether it's watching or whenever she's, whatever age, to go marshalling or whatever it is, like, but
Yeah.
the excitement, like, in the younger generation is genuinely what it's all about. And it's the longest time since, I have actually felt that level of the last time I felt that excitement was probably driving, because I was just so happy to see her excitement. It was unbelievable. So, and I think that just sort of encapsulates everything that you're saying. We just need to get the younger people in, and we need to try and get an audience that is outside of the rallying community as well. Like,
Yeah, it's like, I think, like, that's what RPM managed, like, back in the day. Look, it's very hard to replicate something like that again. Like, how do you bottle lightning? It's
yeah, I know.
it's but it's
But it's definitely very positive. I think a lot of people are starting to talk about rallying like this again, and I think it's a great job, basically, because it's going to spark change. Like, it's going to spark forward movement. Like,
yeah, it's good. Like, look, we've had a tough year, as well. It's like, it's immeasurable, the loss of Craig to the sport in this country. But I think if anything, it maybe has. There was a couple of nice articles about rallying outside of that have appeared, in things like the Irish Independent, and it was kind of, this is good, that kind of, maybe we need to be a bit. We need to set ourselves as we are a proper sport, like we
100%.
we are legitimate. Do you know what I mean? It's, and we have, but you kind of have to stand your ground with the rest of the other sports, and maybe work with those other sports to a certain degree as well, because it's a very competitive marketplace.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, look, I think we've probably said it the same. The same thing a few different times in roundabout ways, but, like, the bottom line is, Tommy, we love rallying.
Oh, yeah.
We want to try and get people. We want to try and get as many people involved as possible. But listen, I'd say you and I could sit here chatting all night. I am absolutely.
We were on for an hour before this already.
Rally chatting. You see, you put two podcasters together. That's what happens.
Yeah.
But listen, Tommy, we're very, very grateful to have you on here this evening, and delighted.
I've added nothing, obviously.
No, you've actually genuinely given us great insight, and we're very lucky to have had you on this evening and to hear your point of view, particularly with the two events that were just gone past. And we will wish you best luck with the rest of your season in Forestry, and for whatever else you get up to. You might be back in a wee tarmac event yet.
I might be, and hopefully we'll, if we could eke out a couple of good results now in the Forestry now this year, we'd like to push Mr. Donnelly and Mr. Hone, Mr. Hamill a bit to the end if we could. It'd be great. But
well, we'll keep watching you anyway, Tommy. We'll be looking for it.
Watch this gravelly space.
Good man. Tommy, thanks a million.
No worries. Cheers.
The Irish Rally Podcast is brought to you in association with Tech and Tools, PFT Travel, SVS Productions and Rally Connection.